Sure, why not?
It's about that time again. If I can get the hiya.
Man, Jupiter's us 2 minutes.
All right,
This man was a teacher. It would be the bell doesn't dismiss you, I dismiss you.
shut the fuck up. Don't. No, I didn't pull that fucking shit. I told them not to pack their shit up early unless they got all their work done. That was a different fucking story. The ruffling of papers when I was in the middle of trying to explain a chemical formula made me very upset. Sue me.
No, that makes sense. I'll give you that.
All right, so here we are once again. Our little ragtag group of heroes in the worlds beyond Etheria.
Oh, I do have something real quick. Did you guys see my like Discord shit that I bought?
Discord's thing you bought?
Yeah, so like if you look on the session when I talk, like, if you click on session, you can see
Oh,
my
you
little
got the
icon.
like
Goes to
Super
yeah,
Saiyan lightning.
yeah. And then when you click on my name, it'll go to my profile. It has like little burning thing. I don't know why I did it. It was $12 for both of them. I was like, I could fucking swing that.
You're like, oh, the drip. Drip is real.
I was like, I can't not do it.
So let's talk about last session. So last session had a lot happen, and there was a lot to kind of resolve and to digest over the time between then and now. You, the party, found yourselves finally facing off with both the Plague Doctor and the Blight Piper. After chasing them down from being trapped in the basement that he had put you in to try and keep you at bay, and you tracking the supplies he was setting up to demolish the town of New Haven, to come after you and everything you've built, to sow those seeds of chaos. You went to the town, you scouted him out, you saw him there, and you pushed through. And as you came blow to blow with him, you saw that he had the plague doctor with him, and it became a fight to tie up loose ends. Unfortunately, you fell underneath the same charms that he has dealt with before. He used his powers of persuasion and domination to take some of you under his control, to turn you against your friends. The Plague Doctor, of course, uses superior strength and size to push itself into your vicinity and chase down the Druid Aura before Okros is able to step in and grab its attention, having a bone to pick with the monster. It all finally came down between a number of spells exploding and magic rippling through the air, causing a number of effects that changed the tide of battle at every turn. Came down to Creed calling out the Plague Doctor, compelling him to a duel to finish what they started. The Plague Doctor continued to fight Okros in its own duel of fates. The Blight Piper bringing both himself and Creed to an isolated location. Unbeknownst to Creed, televising this across the entirety of the brink. As Okros and the Plague Doctor came to blows, a strike from the syringe injector that he used, his coat being torn off from the strikes, seeing the tubes run up his arm and into its body, the strike going towards the ribcage of the Lionfolk barbarian, much akin to what it was before, was stopped by the newfound strength and determination of the barbarian. Holding it still in a battle of attrition for ground, Nameless recovering from the penetration of his mind by the Blight Piper, turning him against his friends to use what last of his ammunitions against them. The Artificer bringing himself forward to assist as best he can against this juggernaut of a creature. it came out at the very end was that the ace in the hole you required was a druid who finally dipped into her higher level of magic to take that risk and use what she had to really put the pain into this monster that nearly stole a friend of hers, who forced her to give up years of her life to save him, not out of a unwillingness to do so, but the fact that she had to bring a friend back from the brink of death being stolen from her, brought fury and fire to the attack she brought out as she blazed sunbeam one after another directly into the face of the plague doctor, ripping off the mask and the flesh that had become rotten underneath, burning out its eyes and its jaw, leaving it vulnerable to shots from the artificer, leaving it vulnerable to the barbarian, overpowering it, snapping its elbow, and bringing the final strike of bringing the syringe injector into the bottom jaw and into the skull, ending the threat once and for all. As the battle concluded between the two juggernauts, the artificer found a journal that brought forth a new view on what had been going on behind the scenes when it came to what you were dealing with from the edge of High Charity. The story read in the journal that this was a changeling that was stolen, captured, tortured, experimented on. That the Warden program, this amalgamation of technology and power that was being used by High Charity, was causing these changes to be forged into these monsters underneath the will of Zeus. This specific one, though, seemed to reject these augmentations, to reject everything that was put into him, turning him into a husk of what he once was, as his body continued to retain its original shape. So the Biophagus, saying, enough is enough, instead of putting augmentations into him, began replacing his body tissues entirely with other failures. This began to take a toll on his mind as the months turned into years. And now, the monster you saw in front of you that was wordless, thoughtless, a rabid dog on a short leash, now finally at peace as you read through the journal and saw the progression of ramblings of a madman as it finally turned into just a target, a name, and a place. And those were the markings in the journal. That is now in the possession of the artificer. The news of what he's read not passed to the rest of the party, but as the three of you had finished that fight, did a screen of light appear above New Haven. And it showed a small island, about 20 meters in both directions, made of slate and stone, eroded away by the salt of the sea, stood two figures, one clad in the armor that he has worn through the years, that has changed colors in atonement for what he has done in his own understanding and righteousness that he stands for, the other one in the bright colors of one of the Bardic colleges, its face gray and scarred, unlike what you've seen before. The two stood sword to sword, ready to finalize this duel. But it became less of a duel and more of a bleeding heart, as the Blight Piper finally brought it forth of the anger and resentment it had towards Creed and the Resistance, as it became quite apparent by the brooch it threw to Creed, the seals and tapestries of its rank still attached to it, that this individual was once a soldier of Ravenholm. And during the original assault of High Charity, where Creed remembers being removed from the explosion that would have taken the life of him and his friends, this soldier was left behind as the city began to burn, their forces no longer able to hold a foothold. He was left, not on purpose, but through the chaos and death that had become overswelling in the streets. He was left behind. He was found, captured, and experimented on alongside the one that became the plague doctor. Being a changeling, he became a focus of the experiments of the biophagus. He escaped, bringing the plague doctor with him, using its strength and his charisma to find their way out, and escape to the mainland where they can now do as they pleased, doing contracts for who could pay to try and do what is right. And it wasn't until he realized that no one remembered who he was, and that everything that he had fought for, that he believed he was sacrificing his own self for, had fallen to nothing. And so he did not want the pity from a soldier of the same colors, for to accept the hand of someone means that they believe them to be above you. And he does not believe himself to be above or below anyone, for he is a scorned soldier looking for a reason to fight, to bring attention to everything around him. Him and Creed shot back and forth insults and ideas of determination, of reasonings and questions and answers, until it finally came to blows. But the Blight Piper's heart didn't seem to be in it. He swung and Creed parried, never fully regaining his posture, leaving himself open much longer than a soldier would, almost on purpose. Finally, the Piper snapped, telling Creed to just finally put him down like the monster he knows he's becoming. The soldier, the killer, the tool, to finally end him and remove him from this game. Because if he did not, he was going to continue doing everything he's doing, and he was going to burn everything he loved down, just to prove a point and maybe bring the eyes of the gods onto him, not for immortality, but to simply give them a last middle finger as he passes on beneath the ether, knowing the fight is already lost. Creed did not give him the satisfaction. Creed ran him through and left him on the slate, standing there, unknowing of what was his correct actions or not. His original motivation to want to simply strangle the Blight Piper where he stood, to break his neck on the cobblestones of New Haven, to end it there, the cold blood running through his body as the murder became apparent of a reasonable action. And now, seeing everything in front of him remains a question. As the Piper perished, the screens of light disappearing, Creed found himself back with the rest of you, as those that were evacuated began making their way back into New Haven. The soldiers began scouring through the town as the timer hit 0 and nothing occurred. They found the devices rather obviously placed and saw they were filled with nothing but rocks. That it seems that a building to the north of New Haven, where some of the evacuees had moved to, had burst into flames when the timer hit 0. It seems the Piper had been bluffing all along, to finally push you to the edge, to cause you to snap. And it seemed that his plan did not come to the fruition he had hoped, that he was still seen as a villain, and not one that was bringing to light the corruption others had felt inside themselves. As the divisions of soldiers began returning to the city with civilians in tow, the devices seemed to be found to be duds. Leandros himself found the 5 of you and pulled you away from everything that had happened, shuffling you back towards your townhouse, which still in need of repair from certain things or another, but better off than standing out in the open trying to process what has occurred. And that's where we find ourselves now, sitting in your main dining room around the round table. All of you have taken a seat, or has returned to her room to rest, as the magics that she weaved during that fight, though being uncontrollable at times, took a significant amount of energy out of her, especially dipping into those higher levels that she has gained access to. But you find yourselves at that table now. A pot of coffee on the center that has been prepared by Okros as is tradition. your gear and weapons either hung on the back of your chairs or placed on the other tables around the living quarters. Hot mugs of coffee in front of you. Briar sits next to Nameless, having been bandaged and given food and water, and seeming to be in better spirits from where he was before. The journal stays in Nez's hands as he flips through the pages, holding it close. Creed, you find yourself holding the book Max gave you, kind of touching the cover and trying to make sense of what has gone on. And Okros, you seem to be feeling at your ribs, where the plague doctor had struck you before, and this time you stopped him from doing it again. Something aches at the back of all of your minds, of the weight of everything that has occurred over the past few months. And you feel that maybe it's time to come clean, or maybe to look for something else, as it's hard to determine where your next direction should be. You've taken out what would be deemed a nemesis, but there's still so much in front of you. The western region still remains unknown. The other gods still seem to have footholds. The great scorched sand seems to be neutral for the time being. A war of attrition still going across the blood-soaked dunes. And then, of course, High Charity still being a fortified city in the middle of the ocean, untouched by the resistance and everything else around you. It seems daunting. Even for your reputation and skills now, it just begs the question of, what do you do? And that's where we find ourselves now.
Um, hmm. So Creed's holding the book that Max gave me.
Yes.
Creed's just going to more or less close his eyes and flip through the pages until he feels like he needs to stop.
Okay. You stop about 3/4 of the way through the book.
And then he's going to read what's on the page.
A lot of the script in this book, as you've looked it over and over, these spells along the back still remain indecipherable to you. Something is not giving you access to that yet. But the page that you come across that you know is not part of the spells or the magics that Max left you, it is a record of what he is. And it talks about the night he spent before he went into Martyr's Wake, sitting with the cleric as they simply talked. It talks about how him and Brother Tobias, and Tiberius to be specific, the three of them sat around the fire talking. Tiberius being a large paladin or crusader, depending on who you asked, and Tibus being one of the cloth, so to speak. Max being his magical self. All three humans, and all three still reeling from what had happened before and what they have to do now. It's a short excerpt from him, as it simply states that they simply talked about what it meant to be human. Tobias talked simply about how he preaches the word, how when he is concerned, he looks to the tomes and scriptures that he has, looks for inspiration. Not that the gods themselves will give him any, but sometimes rereading what he's seen, fate has a funny way of reminding you of where you need to go. Tiberius had a different answer. He simply said that when in times of doubt, he would simply go and do what needs to be done, whether it was something with his hands or speaking to his Grand Master, where wisdom would be passed either through physical actions or through the consulting of someone older, someone who has seen before what he is seeing now. Max wrote down both of these and then gave his own, of where being an arcanist, someone who understands the energies and magics that flow, that sometimes fate has a funny way of weaving itself inside of the magic. He would talk about how spells sometimes would feel different, depending on when and where he used them, of how and who. And that it seemed that sometimes he would use it, it would point him in a different direction. It is how he discovered all these different ways of casting. How he became such a good battle mage by being able to adapt his spells on the fly, by feeling the flow of the magic, much akin to that of the threads of fate. Max was always one to be laid back and go with the flow, so to speak. Planning was not his strong suit, though it was one that worried him greatly. And you see them go back and forth a few times. As Brother Tobias simply states that he remembers when he had his first doubts, when he first took the mantle upon himself, of where he simply sat in an empty temple, not dedicated to anyone, one that the humans had built out of cobblestones. Simple one, a small one, only able to fit 2 or 3 people at a time. Back when humans were still considered livestock, slaves, laborers. Something simple that brought them morale, happiness, a reason, an answer, or a voice. A place of echoes and memoirs. He remembered praying deeply, looking for a reason to keep fighting as he had lost everything. He had lost his farm, his family, and everything else from the gods. A rampage of Ares had burned his crops to ash. His family stolen by an indoctrination squad that had taken them to be used for whatever other means. Another species using them as laborers for a camp far away from where they were. He was desperate. He was on the verge of letting himself fall into the sea and not return. And so he beseeched what he may and listened. And a voice came back and spoke to him gently, like a warm hearth on a cold winter's night, and simply said, "Though you may be lost, let yourself be found. Your fortitude shall sow strength. Your words shall sow courage. Though you may not pick up the blade, let your actions be your mantle." So speaks the words of the Watcher. That's when Tobias believed himself to have been given a string to pull on, a single thread to follow. Tiberius mentioned something of the same when he joined his order. They were all forced into the same temple-esque that they had their warriors guild in. They are all given a deep red concoction made by one of their shamans to give them a look beyond the veil that they sat on. They saw demons and horrors beyond imagination, but they also saw a light that seemed to push ever gently against it. They did not hear the same words Tobias did, but they felt courage. They felt an understanding to survive, and so they did. They became the fighters and the defenders of the weak, of those that were the meek and the sick. Because if not them, then who? You read these words over a few times, over the quiet of the table, the clinking of ceramics as people pick up their glasses and put them down. And the words sit with you. What do you do?
Oh, I'm muted. That's why.
Yeah, that
Like,
was
I was like, what? I don't know what more to say. Creed's gonna put the book away, and he's after being like bye. He's just gonna go for a walk and let it take him wherever it takes him.
all right. You just find yourself walking where you feel you need to go. And so as you get up to walk, the rest of you, of course, see Creed simply stand up and state that he is going to go take a moment to go think, to clear his mind, whatever explanation he decides to give. As the three of you, well, four including Briar, find yourselves sitting around the table. What do you do?
I've been just going through that notebook some more, just trying to figure out, or, well, still just pondering that how it's always like the changelings that were being picked for these experiments. And pondering in my head, why were they picking them?
You think that for a moment. It's something that's been in your head ever since you realized you were being hunted for what you were many years ago. Before you joined the Resistance, the reason why you joined the Resistance. And as you sit back and think, you start to realize that one, you haven't run into many other changelings, minus apparently the Plague Doctor and the Blight Piper. Past that, it seems that those who are changelings have a tendency to survive these situations. Since before you believed that changelings were being taken to be indoctrinated and used as infiltrators due to their natural abilities to shapeshift, to camouflage. But now it seems that that part of you that allows you to meld your own flesh and shape yourself is what they were looking for ones to survive these ostentatious and extreme experiments. Now, the journal does mention a couple of different subjects. A couple of others that were not changelings that were put through the same experiments. And Briar being here, having been a prisoner of High Charity, and then recovered by the Blight Piper and then brought here as collateral, shows that they were not only looking for changelings, but it seems that these experiments focused on your kind specifically, and you wonder if it's something to do with how you live.
Oh boy. Is there any kind of like experiments I could possibly take out of this book as well?
In what
That
sense?
could possibly be beneficial, not like to use on someone, but possibly maybe help us.
A lot of what is written from the memory of the Plague Doctor, whose name you find in the journal to be Warren. He speaks of a few things they did that did make him stronger in the beginning, before he rejected them out of his own will. Increasing his muscle mass, his constitution, his speed. Things that were being used to change him into something different. A lot of these are of the extreme and grotesque, things that would not be done in a normal augmentating sense. They were definitely on the side of seeing if the patient could even survive. Now, the principles behind it may be something that you can look into after given more time to study it and look it over and see if there's a link you're missing. But for now, it just stands as a record of what Zeus and his Biophagus are capable of and what means they're willing to go to secure their own victory.
Well, then that would be it for me on that.
All right. What about you, Mr. Nameless or Mr. Okros? Anything that you wish to bring to the table, so to speak?
I think Okros right now would probably be preparing a big, like a fancy meal, but like with the gourmand perk specifically, just because after everybody's been through that, he'd probably go be like, yeah, people probably need to have a bit of a repast afterwards to kind of, yeah. We went through some shit. Time for a feast.
Not to mention that you did get your revenge on the monster that did try to kill you. There's not much for you to process besides a life debt being sealed.
Yes. And a celebration to be had.
Yes. To take the positive from what has been sown. Now, Mr. Nameless, you have been reunited with your brother, who you believe lost for many years, and you sit with him now. It's the domination that ran through your mind still fills you with disgust when you feel that someone else was inside your head, forcing you to do things outside of your own control. But now he has passed on to the afterlife. In whatever means his belief pushed him, he will no longer do that again to you or anyone else. But with your brother here, what are you trying to look through? You've gone through a lot over the past few months. Where does your mind wander while you sit as your body recuperates?
Nameless is thinking about how to get any kind of aimless that can bring back the dead so I can bring him back and kill him again. Over and over and over until I'm satisfied. So I'm just there lost in thought. Fantasizing it, if you will. Oh, but Nez, I'm out of ammunition for my cat signal.
Well,
What
we'll
do we
need to
need?
go and pick up some more
Yeah, what do you need
supplies for them.
for them? What do you need? What do we go find?
Oh, I can just go and see the artificers later, and they'll just give me everything I need.
Oh, okay, cool. That works too.
You feel a shot in your ribs from an elbow as Briar looks to you and goes, "Well, we're here. It's been a while. It's definitely been some time. And it's good to see you again. To sit here and have something more than what they were allowing us to have, or being in that dream state that monster had me in. I can feel normal. And the fact that we saw Creed kill him means that I I don't have to be worried about being taken again. Or at least I hope so. But I see you spacing out. I know it's going through your head. We were close enough to remember how to see each other. The subtitles from the face you're making. But I know what you're thinking. It's not worth it. I know that you'd want to, knowing and hearing the stories from the other soldiers, from the War Master, Leandros, wasn't it? It's you have done so much, and you've become greater than anything that I could have seen. I would not waste your time on thoughts of something that is gone. It was a miracle that I found my way back to you through fate or otherwise. Whether it was just to be a pawn on a board, but with the Piper gone, he doesn't seem to be coming back, as his body was left on that island. I don't think it will return. I would hope not. But on a happier side, I'm here. And now we can actually catch up on those years that we've lost. But you can take your time on asking those questions. Because I know it would be a lot to hear from someone you thought was dead.
No, not really. I want to hear everything. Like, anything you remember.
Well, as you remember, we were young then. We were only a few years old when I was taken, or at least that's what I recall. Everything else was fuzzy afterwards. I just remember being taken and drugged and thrown in cells, and the screams and the loss. Didn't really get to have a lot of friends in High Charity, I think is what your friends called it, that city in the middle of the water. I got an education from one of our cellmates. It was a teacher, an orc of all things. Incredibly smart, given the rest of us were uneducated and young. Our bodies seeming to resist the failures of these experiments more, being the target of the biophagus, as he's called. Remember learning a lot from him besides just crafting and math and numbers and how to make a life if I was ever to make it outside. His teachings gave us that shot of hope to really breathe life into our own understanding. But past that, it was just became a blur. Days turned to weeks, weeks turned to months, until those in our cell began to disappear, one by one. Whether we got separated, we're not sure. I just never really saw them again. I was put into a smaller cage. Those noises were deafened here. It was quieter. That is until a hand came through the door and offered me a way out. I didn't think twice and I took it. I got out and I was able to learn a little bit of music and bargaining and how to do mercantile work and how to read, which was something that I didn't realize how important it was until I was taught. I learned how to make apothecary potions, minor ones if anything, poisons and how to counteract them, I traveled with a long, gangly fellow in bright-colored clothing and a large one that didn't seem to talk much. He hid behind rags he wore on his face. I guess, looking back at it now, it would have been the Piper and the Plague Doctor. I can't remember quite what happened before I fell asleep. All I remember is that we had gone to a tavern in Westminster. It had been a few months on the road traveling the sea, going from the western region to this one. Traveling between towns and making money on the road as you can. I simply learned what I could as I was still young compared to them, at least. But I remember the Piper talking to Warren. Can't remember if that's what he called him. He spoke to the Plague Doctor, the monster, the better descriptor. He handed him a piece of parchment that appeared out of a bag that seemed to have no bottom to it. Just it stored everything that we had on our persons. And he pulled it out and gave it to him and let him read it, saying that it was from someone important, that it was a job, something that could pay out and actually get them going in the right direction. That was until the job didn't pan out. The monster got hurt really bad. The only way that we could really keep him going was through constantly putting this weird green liquid into his body, and it seemed to make him worse. Whatever words he could speak were less after that. I remember the Piper attaching some kind of tubing to him, using that to make poisons and such. Like a walking cauldron is what he called them. I remember the Piper becoming angry that day. He was joyful before, but after that day, we were attacked by wardens, I think is what he called them. Big creatures. They reminded me of the ones that took me, or at least if I remember right. They dwarfed the monster we had. They struck him down. They scarred the Piper's face. They took some kind of heated cleaver and hit him with it. And it left this bleeding, boiling gash on his face. We got away, barely. But he wasn't the same after that. That is until a few months ago. I started to see that he was losing it. He was becoming erratic, extremist. He kept mumbling to himself about how he was going to take back what was his, what he had lost. I kept seeing him hold this weird piece of metal in his hands. It was round and had what looked like a bird on it. There's a blue and yellow ribbon coming off of it. And he just kept whispering about it. And then one day he said that we were going to go do a big score. That it was something we were going to be looking towards doing. But as he was making preparations, he sat me down and said that I was going to be taken to a safe place. That he did not want me to be a part of what was happening anymore. Whether there was any truth in that statement, I don't know. But all I remember is him singing a lullaby. And I fell asleep. And when I woke up, I saw you. I thought I died. But I saw your friends. And I knew that I was back. For what reason or another, I'm not sure. But that's all I can think of. And I try to remember us before. I can't remember our parents. But I do have one thing. I think you'd like if you want it. It's something that I think would answer some more questions than what I may.
What is it?
It's written in a script I'm not familiar with, but I had one around my neck. Yeah, it was almost like a fiber cord with a silver tag on it. And when I awoke in High Charity, I had another one. I knew what mine meant, as I remember someone saying it to me multiple times before I was taken, as that was the only memory I had. But this one, I could never get someone to translate it. It was just always out of reach. But seeing you again, I think it's yours. If it looks like mine, but it isn't, it means it must be yours.
Am I able to read what's on it?
As he hands you the silver tag on the fibrous cord, you see on both sides, on one side is a large number of characters, like a name, in a very weird script that you recognize. And on the back seems to be some smaller ones in multiple lines of text. On the front, as you look it over, you almost have like a flashback pull you all the way back to when you were a child. And you remember...
Doing the Raven Simone thing? Really?
What?
Sorry. I think the only
That's
thing
So
I got in
Nameless?
my head was the Raven Simone thing.
No,
From That's So Raven.
Yeah, just a zip.
That's so nameless. That's
Like,
the cat
just-
that I can see.
I hate you. But like going through your eye, like
Wow.
flashing all the way back to when you were a
Yeah.
child, as you're holding that tag.
Wide-eyed.
As you remember what you imagined to be your mother teaching you this script on a piece of slate that she had put together to make a makeshift chalkboard. You remember looking out and seeing just thick trees as far as the eye could see. Wooden floors, wooden walls, birds chirping, the sun coming through a window, the smell of sweets and pastries and such being made. You remember sitting on the floor. You remember Briar being next to you. You remember your mother teaching you this as you kind of held on to your brother, as he was a little smaller than you were at the time and tended to topple. Remember her teaching you this. It was an old script from her grandparents and her parents, something passed down through the family line, that it was something that tabaxis were known for. It was, looking at it, it seemed to be not essentially a thief's cant, but it seemed to be a type of language that formed from the feline ancestry. And so you remember very basically what these characters mean. And as you kind of come back, as she handed you this silver tag, one to you, one to your brother, she says, if you're ever lost, hold this with you, and you will know your way. And as she says that, her voice soft and rounded, just being a pleasant to the ears, you're snapped back to seeing Briar holding this tag in front of you. And you read what you imagine to be the name on the front, as it almost becomes deciphered as you lay eyes across it, of just Thistle. And on the back, it tells you, through the groves and the mountains, through the valley and the trees, your home is wherever you make it to be. and a small symbol of the Ranger's Credo at the very bottom, with 2 names next to it. Braxton and Matilda.
Sorry, this is such a feel-good story. I don't know what to say. I don't want to ruin it. um,
I can ruin it if you want.
Don't.
I mean,
You're
you
not
ruined
here.
everything else, so go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, you got Tiberius and he got Thistle. I'm just saying, one of you got cheated. Just throwing it out there. But it's heartwarming. Heartwarming stuff. Keep up the good work.
So, do you say this in character?
He's not even in the same building.
Yeah.
He's off doing his walk.
Son of a bitch.
I know.
Well, it shows like right here that we're in the same building.
All right, fine. He's over here. There, better?
Yes,
Very good.
because I had to snap back to it, but if he says something in character,
With the British accent, so.
yeah, but you fuck up sometimes.
But yeah, you fuck up
I'm
your
sorry,
accent sometimes.
We're reminiscing with your brother right now. You should get back to that, you know?
Oh, at least you didn't hesitate with that.
Oh, yeah.
Any hooser. So I'm gonna clench this. I mean, I guess medallion is what I'll call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, clench it with both paws. Eyes start to water. Those whole 9 yards. And for the first time in a long time, kind of speechless.
Briar looks at you and goes, "What does it say?"
So I'll read it off to him. And then tell him the names. And guessing that those are the parents' names, right? Mother and
Yes.
father's names? Yeah. Okay. And I'll ask him if he recognizes those names.
He goes, "Yeah, it's familiar. It feels right. I mean, if that's our parents' names and that's our parents' names, it means that we know who we are. I wonder if we could find our home."
It's been so long. I don't even remember where it is.
Well, we'll save that for another time, but at least now you have a name. It may be that our mother had a shrub streak when she came to naming us.
Yeah, I'm still gonna go by nameless for now, though.
Whatever you say, Thistle. I'm just glad to be seeing you again. At least we know who we are. That's always the biggest part. Maybe now I can learn to be something better than who I was. Maybe you can teach me how to be a ranger. Maybe we can find our homes once this is all over.
Well, we don't quite know who we are yet, but we have a good starting point.
It's better than what we had. We both
It is
thought each other
definitely
were
better than
dead.
what we had. It is absolutely leagues better than what we had.
Well, I say this is a good start to the day.
Well, it would be if we could have that banquet.
No sooner do you
Just
say
waiting
that,
on the
do
big lion over
plates,
there.
the plates start slapping down onto the table with their particular clacking as metal and ceramic meet each other all along.
And I'm absolutely gonna roll my eyes and my head at the same time and go, "Of course he would when I say something."
You know Okros, a man of dramatic entrances.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
So, the four of you begin to select into these feasts, sharing thoughts and questions, and just kind of milling about your business, having a good sit down, a rest, a repose, bringing yourself back into the positive side between the overwhelming positivity from the barbarian, the delicious food that he's put onto the table, and revelations that the two of you have had. We now swing ourselves to the paladin who walks the streets. You find yourself walking for a bit there, Creed, until as you bring yourself near the government center, where you can see beyond the gates of west of the center, you can see the Valkyrie poached up in the grass, the brass and copper plating shining against the sun. You see within the walls, on the far corner, there sits a small stone temple, or what you can assume to be one. It's built very much in a common print, so to speak. You would remember your friend Cactus calling it Roman style, or Gothic, to be specific. 6 pillars lead from the entrance in, 3 on either side. The back wall, solid stone of some kind, a slanted roof, very much looking akin to what he described the pantheons in his world, the Greco-Roman ones, to be specific, made of marble and chiseled hours of labor put into a passion of a single sculptor. This one is significantly smaller than what he has described in his stories before, is possibly no taller than 10 feet at its apex and no more than 8 feet wide at its entrance. A single brazier pan sits on the back, on a small stone pedestal, burning a small amount of incense that has been left in a communal pot to the left. A communal pot or pitcher of wine and small Jesus have left to the side of it for those that wish to come and say their prayers, take their communion, and go home. You find yourself drawn to it. Almost as you've known it's been there, but you've never had a reason to really go towards it. But something in your mind, after reading what Max had written from Tiberius and Tobias, draws you to it. And you find yourself standing in front of it, the incense smoke drifting out of the entrance and wafting around the rivets of your greaves.
Creed walks on in.
As you walk in, everyone has entered the streets and has gone about their morning business. The shops have reopened. People have a sigh of relief. Seeing you, they wave and they nod. They give you acceptance of what you've done, but they have things to do and things to build and fix, as is tradition in a place that is still finding a place for itself among the other cities in this region. But as you enter this small temple off the corner of the government center, that world seems to deafen. It seems to become quieter as the sound doesn't seem to follow you in here. You see, rolled up on the right side, are a couple of what you would assume to be prayer mats. A few pillows or cushions of some kind made of baled hay or down feathers on the left for those that wish to use those. A small praying stool there as well. The accommodations in this are well acquainted for those of multiple faiths, whatever they may practice, to come here and take their time, to take a moment to... The phrase echoes through your mind as you look on it, beseech what they may. And you find yourself standing in front of the brazier, a selection of things to simply take and place at your feet and kneel. What do you do?
I have a silly question first.
I may have a silly answer.
Creed has, he has hooves.
Yes.
Can he kneel?
You can sit. You can't necessarily kneel because you have reverse jointed legs.
Yeah, I just occurred to me. I was like,
You can't
How
kneel
is-
per se. You can like sit on your rump.
all right. Then he's. Oh yeah. Before he sits down, he is going to remove his sword from his belt and set it to the side, and then he's going to sit down.
You do so. You grab the prayer stool, having it built to be a somewhat sturdy chair. Seems to be a good impromptu one, so you don't have to sit upon the stone floor all the way at the ground. You place the Sword of Redemption next to you. You place your shield down to your left. Loosen the strappings of your armor, letting your body rest, the weight well adjusted to your frame that you've been used to carrying for years. And the world just seems quiet. The wind comes through between the pillars, whistling ever gently, the incense wisping through the air in small spirals, dragging along the ground, along your hooves, and back up again.
Finally, Creed is just going to reach up and pull his hood down into the, I guess, the silence. I am not one much for worship. I'm not one who sought out a higher power. I've known those who have, but never been me. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing here. I'll be honest. I suppose I'm just having a crisis of faith. I guess I don't quite know what you usually do in this scenario.
You hear the wind whistle through, and it also almost turns into a voice as you see a very faint outline of something sit next to you and go, I think you're doing well. I may not be the one you're looking for, but I imagine if you try hard enough, beseech what you may, someone may answer. As the outline disappears, you unsure if it was something speaking to you, someone passing by the temple, or maybe just your own subconscious reaching up to touch the front and let you know that to go and continue.
I've come to beseech someone who can show me I'm on the right path. That when I have moments where I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing, the complicated decisions would haunt me. I want to do good. I want to help people. But to what end am I helping? For true justice and freedom and liberty and all those wonderful ideals, they tend to ring hollow. I come. Yeah, I figure out how to put this. I suppose I've come seeking a guiding hand more than anything. And I wish to do.
Oh, continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and before I go, before I pass on, I want to do the most good I can. That's it, sorry.
As you sit in the temple, just these words echoing between yourself and the wind, you see the structure begin to grow in front of you. The sides lengthening, the hallway going forward as the brazier becomes brighter and more distant, growing 3, 4, 5, 6 times its normal size. As you begin to hear these strange whispers peter out from between the pillars that have grown to ginormous size. Promises, promises, always promises. He wishes to know. Should we tell him? Should we? Can we? Can we say what needs to be done? But does he wish for guidance, truth, justice, seeking, vengeance, glory? As you see these shadowy hands begin to reach out from between the pillars, almost lengthening towards you. The whispers continuing, saying, all he needs is to choose, to pick, to understand, to pray. And the hands continue to creep closer as the shapes begin to take form. As you see that some of these shapes are uncanny. Sharp angles and gangly limbs, sharpened teeth and red eyes. Some taking of different shapes and otherwise. Let's make a deal. No, with me. Plead, beseech. Let the grandfather of change help you. No, he wishes for stagnation. Let that of plague help. No, he wishes for honor, for justice. Let the one of blood take his hand. No, the one of access, of glory, of happiness wishes to take upon him. No, listen. The fiends must ask and beseech what he wants. Does he want power, glory, understanding? As the whispers begin to overlap each other, and you become overwhelmed by all these noises. Until you see a single figure standing in front of you, the hands pulling themselves back to the columns. He's here, the one of them, all of them, maybe. Is one, will he accept? Plead? Give? And you see a man standing there in blackened armor. Skulls for pauldrons. Rubies hanging between his plating. A bronze-faced with golden hair. And you realize that you're looking at Ares. He looks to you and goes, I don't think you truly understand the doors you've opened. You see, you are not a small fish anymore, Mr. Creed. When one beseeches the gods with what power and potential you have, all will listen. You wish to know if you're right? You may be. But who am I to say? To be but a guiding hand in this. But do you really want to listen to the word of gods, or do you wish to break them down, to make the war you were always trained to do?
Oh. I will admit that's actually a pretty good question. I just said I have to say complete out of character. That's. I suppose that what I want would be the war I've been trained to fight. But what I want more than that is what comes after.
Who's to care what comes after? You and I are both soldiers, warriors to the end. We don't worry about what happens afterwards. That's for the others, for those below you, for those that are not you. Your job is to fight, to win, to survive. Isn't that enough from everything you've gone through? Now, I could give you something that could help you as you have beseeched the world around you. Anything and everything that has something to give has answered, as you can see by the names and voices that have lined this walls. So begs the question. Do you want to risk something else answering? Or do you want to listen to what I can give you? Because both things of good and bad, as you see them on your little moral compass, may continue to answer. But if you reject me, who's to say what may actually show up next? What do you say, Creed?
I had to say, out of character, I kind of hate you right now. This is literally you don't understand this. This is the man who, when I told him I murdered his sister, he basically wanted to high five me. Like,
So a quick segue as you hate me. We have Carson with 69 biddies saying chameleon tongues are twice as long as their body. Happy Friday, friends.
I didn't know that.
We have one of the percussion gang of Bard City, a good friend, Mr. Steven, here saying woodpecker tongues wrap around their brains, followed by 5 community subs being pushed out by Miss Carson. As always, and thankful for all being here and giving. It is not necessary, but it is nice. Now, back to where we were.
What is it, moist?
It is moist for Mrs. Rage, who I know is listening. So, Ares stands in front of you and looks to you and goes, "Why don't you accept and shake my hand, Creed? Shake a poor sinner's hand, a warrior. Join something that could be more beneficial. Or do you want to risk the void?"
I must ask a question before I accept your offer.
You may ask.
How does this factor into the fight you've promised me?
Which fight? The one between the two of us?
Of course.
That would be one of where it would only be skill and metal. No powers on either side. Simply a strike among blows. That is, if you still wish for it. Being my patron would not mean much, though, besides that your fight would be promised.
I'm not one to be called a liar, and I promised you a fight quite some years ago. And Breed's going to hold out his hand.
Roll a perception check, please.
That's 22.
You see that the book you have hooked to your hip, the one that Max gave you, seems to be shaking. And it catches your attention before you finally fully reach for Ares' hand.
Creed's going to reach down and grab the book.
You see a face of disgust come across Ares' face. Goes, "What are you going to do with that, Reed? You're a warrior, not a scholar."
Wise is the warrior who knows when to pick up the sword and the quill.
Oh, you speak as one who has studied many things. I have been around for millennia. There is no longer a time for the quill when it is barbarians and laymans that walk these lands, when it is strength that determines the outcome of everything. So answer me. What are you going to do with that book, Creed? As you see, it continues to shake in your hand, almost willing you to open it.
Creed's gonna make eye contact with Ares and open the book.
You see a light spring out from inside the pages as they flip manically back and forth, as you begin to hear whispers come out among them. You see Ares' face of disgust turns to one of rage, of anger, of disappointment. He goes, "No, he was mine, a step from understanding his true potential. You can't have him. You can't take what I have worked for." And you see a beam of light begin to cascade out from behind him as he turns and he goes, "Enough of this. Humans. Disgusting. With your community and your understanding of each other. You should have stayed in your cages." And as he says it, he puffs into a cloud of black smoke and disappears. And in front of him, replaced, are 3 ghostly figures. One that seems to be in the robes of a priest. One that seems to be of a very tall stature, wearing a crusader helm and a tabard with different symbology. A great sword you are familiar with, strapped across his back. The 2 of them separate, and you see a third step forward. Long graying hair tied up behind his head. His shoulders not as hunched as they used to be. The robes of a battle mage across it. Metal pauldrons over across the robes of a mage. 2 swords at his hip. And a tome across his chest. And he looks to you and goes, "Why, hello, Creed."
Hello?
"I believe this isn't the voice you're used to. This is the original one. But let me put it in one your understanding. You see, right there is what I'm talking about. Something that's a little bit more gentle to the ears. You recognize me, don't you?"
Not a character I know the first one is. I can't place the second voice.
Or maybe you don't. This is when you met me. It goes, "How about now, Mr. Creed? You met an old man who taught you many things about the world, and everything that you knew was a lie, building you back up from the ashes of your life that seemed to be leading you down a path of self-destruction. And now you stand in front of 3 individuals who walk the same. You asked for guidance. We are here to give it. Before you, you see the Crusader King, Tiberius. Next to me, of course, is Father Tobias. And I imagine you know who I am, as you're holding my book."
Oh, how? Suppose that's a silly question, all things considered, but am how am I seeing?
You're seeing what is a one chance in a million. Something I took a bet on many years ago that I never thought I'd see full fruition. I imagine you remember seeing my younger self in the tomb, yes?
Of course.
A part of a part of a part of me. Something splintered, not the same. He told you of the cycle, the repeating, constant dominoes that made up this world. That is, until we took a chance with you. We have tried this before, to break the lines, the threads, and we found that we were looking too large to actually break it. That was until Tobias and Tiberius, in our understanding, believed that we needed to speak to someone that was outside the threads, where a single knot being pulled undone would send the whole thing into disarray, allowing one act, one individual, to change the tide that he now stood in. And here we are. That book connects you to me. I am currently, my body, at least, is in high charity. Trapped in a vessel that they believe holds every part of me. It simply holds my bones, but not the part of me that continues, the everlasting. I wasn't called the Undying King because I made a killer dessert. No, was I?
I suppose it's odd to say, but this is a bit to take in.
It was a lot to take in when I saw you sitting in a temple, reading excerpts from a book that I wrote many years ago and that you found into your hands. Something of an odd situation to find ourselves in. But I heard your voice echo through a pathway that I had not known you to do. Another anomaly in a list of anomalies that has led us to this situation. Taking our chance with you and putting you where we needed you has caused the fraying of the threads, giving us this chance. Now, you stand in front of 3 of the prime examples of the humans that came before you, that gave you the chance that you stand here today with. You looked for guidance and understanding that you are on the right path. You are. Your moral conflicts are yours alone to wear, to bear, to understand in its entirety. That is not one that I can make for you. It is one I can tell you that you are right. You've done everything that you can. You have done everything that we could have ever asked of you. You were put in a world not your own, in a place unbeknown to your own understanding. And here you are. Stronger than you ever could be, stronger than you ever were, leading a group of heroes across lands that are familiar yet foreign, fighting an enemy that is stronger than you ever believed, but you have matched it step for step. You have done everything right. But there's one thing that always made me laugh about your stature. That you are a paladin, a fighter, a warrior, a soldier, a leader. But you are not a paladin in truth. You are a paladin only in name. One that stands against the darkness, a bulwark against the unrighteous, the bringer of justice, of balance. But I believe now it is the time to make you official, so to speak. Between the 3 of us, we've been able to manifest our own understanding of what requires the strength of many to conceal the strength of one. That we believe that the 3 of us combined should be able to give you something to lean on in times of dire struggle. But this is where it becomes different for you. You never took a true oath of a paladin. You took your oath of a soldier, of someone who is to protect, to serve, to take down the enemies that stand before you, to keep the wicked from the innocent, to rebuild the walls and be the wall of those that cannot do it themselves. For if not you, then who? And so now comes your choice. You have to take your oath if you wish for our help. Being a trifecta, the three of us existing together, you get 3 choices of your oath. You must hold on to it, and you must follow through it to the letter. Your boons will be different, and there may be a surprise in it for the rest of your compatriots as well, depending on who you choose. Who you choose to take your oath to will not change your alignment with the rest of us. We are one. We may not be the same, but we are one, and we will be with you every step of the way. You can stand with Brother Tiberius, an oath of vengeance, the oath of the bulwark, standing strong, becoming the spear that breaks the darkness. Stand with Brother Tobias, the oath of light, being something that leads those from wrong to understanding, to growth, to bringing light to all corners, to push the darkness and evil at bay all the way back to from whence it came. Or you could take mine, the oath of spite, where at every turn something has tried to kill you, stop you, cause you difficulties. You have pushed past it, not out of your own ambition, but the fact that you had to. Your strength has become numerous and unsurmounting because of it. And so I will continue to help you do that. So make your choice. The oath of the bulwark, the oath of spite, or the oath of light. What do you think your path takes you next?
I choose to pledge myself to the oath of the bulwark.
You see the Crusader nod and give you the fist across the chest, the same salute you have for Ravenholm, as he bows his torso slightly. You've chosen the oath of strength, something that is the core of your values. That is something I believe would make sense for one of yourself. You simply must take Brother Tiberius's hand. And I would remind you that someone would like to say a word after you've taken your oath. Tiberius will walk you through it, make sure you follow through your words, and you can have your word with someone that we found along the way. Brother Tiberius steps forward, his arm outstretched to you for the warrior's clasp.
Great gives it.
You take it and you feel power begin to rush between you and Tiberius as you hear a deep, grovelly voice go, "In the darkest of night, I stand where none shall stand. I break the lines that threaten. I am the shield in the dark. I am what goes bump in the night. I put the fear into evil. I am the sword of judgment, the executioner's stance, and the hammer of my lord. At every turn I shall take the honorable path, the one of greater judgment and understanding. I shall never forsake my knowledge, for it is my weapon. I shall never forsake my sword, for it is my shield. I will never forsake my armor. It is what protects those that stand beside me. I will never forsake the shield that I carry on my arm, and it is my guiding light in the darkness that surrounds me. Pledge yourself to these virtues. Stand strong against the coming tide, and you will gain your strength.
Creed stands a little taller. I pledge myself in service.
Then so shall it be done. And you hear a thunderous crush outside of just thunder strikes echoing out throughout the chamber. You see the brazier become bright with the bright green flame of the Undying King's chamber as all the dark, shadowy figures hiding in between the pillars disappear in a flash. Max steps forward. It seems that you had the choice in you all along. You just needed the right opportunity and the right headspace to choose it. But that is all that we have. But we believe someone has something to say to you. Someone that you never really got a chance to say goodbye to. Regardless, you can speak with them and take the time you wish. We will leave you. Your gifts and boons will follow you to your home. You will know what they are. The book will tell you. Farewell, Mr. Creed. We will be with you at every step. Remember, you are the one chance that we took, and you have gone beyond our wildest dreams. Continue. Maybe one day you will stand where I am, giving guidance to the next warrior who takes your place. Wouldn't that be something? As Max smiles at you, nods his head, and turns as he just kind of vanishes, along with Tobias and Tiberius, both of them nodding and saluting you in kind. Replacing their visage is a faint outline that becomes more opaque over a passing few seconds. The power that was given to you by Tiberius still surging and cooling off in your body. But this outline looks familiar. Stands 7 foot 4 inches or so, wide build, reverse jointed legs, and strange hands, the robes of a priest. And as it becomes to a full opaqueness, you can see the sharp, angled and jawed face of a dragonborn. The skin coming into full fruition as it turns into an ashy gray. Green eyes piercing out from behind the veil. Its sash across his chest covered in scriptures. Its large hammer standing next to it, head down in the dirt, the handle leaning against his ribs. He looks to you and goes, "Brother Creed, it's good to see you."
Is this Father Graydon?
It is Father Graydon.
Oh my god.
You have made Creed go schoolgirl. Jesus Christ.
God. You know what? No, he's just gonna start laughing. But he's massive smile on his face. Father Creighton. I admit I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to say.
I didn't expect you to say much. I was found by the spirits of Tobias and Tiberius, and it took a bit for myself to give the strength needed to stand in front. It just took you the chance to take the teachings I gave you, and finally find peace in yourself that to ask for it from others. Something that weighed heavily on your conscience ever since your friends disappeared. And I know we did not get a true chance to say farewell, especially when you came across that unfortunate scene of me having finished my watch. And so we found it fitting that you would be here waiting on an answer, and I would be here to give you that chance.
I'm sorry, I character. I just keep. I can't stop smiling. I really. Oh, it took me a while to understand, and I confess I'm not sure I still do. But I hope to take what you showed me and continue on doing what I can for this realm.
I think it is safe to say that you have done more than anyone could ask for. I remember seeing you in Head Thunder. Still green about the ears, even though you wore the sergeant's chevrons. Still not knowing of who you were, what your purpose was. Butting heads and understanding of what was around you and not exactly what was inside you all along. I knew you were destined for something when you saved that town, when you saved us. Gave us the chance to stand up and fight for what we believed, to save those that could not save themselves. Hearing your stories of marching up to Fulkar, killing a necromantic spider, the zombies that came with it, nearly sacrificing yourself in the process, making it up to Martyr's Wake and taking off for the far regions, finding an ally in Ravenholm, building your strength, your confidence, making a part of his retinue. You have done everything I would have wanted from a prodigy that I had taken and under my wing to show what it meant to be a protector of those around you, not just a soldier, but a hero. As I told you before, folks need heroes. Gives them hope. You have done more than that in spades. And I just simply wanted to tell you that I know we may not have gotten our final words, but I will continue to watch you with anticipation, and that I am proud of your work and your judgment. As one of the cloth and one of the warriors, it is difficult to sometimes make the correct calls. You have done everything you can. You even led your companions, though you may not see it, into the light themselves. Look back at when Tui and you first met them. Most of those that sit in your townhome would not work with each other, let alone understand what is necessary. You now have an artificer that has pledged his loyalty to you. He has taken up the mantle of veteran sergeant underneath your own wing, discovering himself and everything else in the process. You have a ranger who used to be an outcast and a loner, now protects you all with his life. He has found his brother, not short of your own efforts. One that he believed lost. And then, of course, the barbarian. That man stays around not for a life debt, but because he believes himself to be just that, a protector, the strength, to be the foundation you were all built on. Even the druid has changed. You have done everything and more. Take that and go forward, Mr. Creed. There is much work to be done.
I will. Thank you.
I know you will, Mr. Creed. Brother, you have always been one of my greatest works. Now, I myself have work to do, much to study and guide as I find myself among spirits of the fallen. The brothers of Tiberius seem rather interested in learning about who I am and where I came from, and I from them. They all look the same, don't you know? Those humans underneath their helmets seem rather commonplace, albeit strong for their own will, but I believe I have much to learn and much to pass on as a spirit guide to whoever finds me next. Till I see you across the bridge, Brother Creed. Don't let your fortitude falter, or better than that. And you hear him chuckle, just a deep belly laugh as he turns, picking up his hammer and disappearing, as the temple you sit in shrinks back to its normal size, finding yourself sitting on the stool, almost being shocked back to your senses, as the incense had filled your lungs and nostrils and had just filled your senses with these smells that carried you. And now you find yourself back. The book opened in your hands. Some pages that weren't there before now are. But it seems that you have something more important to attend to. You have your guidance and your oath. Maybe it is time you take a rest with those that you have led this far.
Reed's going to get himself squared away, and then he's going to leave the temple. But before he heads back, he's going to step outside. I want to do this to you too. He's sort of turn around and go, I suppose it is bigger on the inside. He's going to head back to the townhouse.
As you approach the townhouse, you hear commotion inside. Not anything of danger, but of good intentions. You smell delicious food wafting along the breeze out of the windowsills and into your nose, picking you up off your feet almost, as you know that Okros has been busy at work. Inside you see Briar, Nameless, Okros, and Nez all sitting around the table eating, drinking coffee, and otherwise clinking glasses and sharing stories, smiles across their faces as they seem to just be bantering back and forth, having a relaxing time around a table filled with a feast fit for heroes of the realm. As you step through the door, you're welcomed with hurrahs and immediate party members going back to bantering. They motion to you to sit.
He's going to sit.
Mug of coffee and an empty plate sits in front of you. Plenty of platters in front of your choosing. And Okros, with a mouthful of what looks to be pork loin, simply points with muffled words, says, eat.
Creed is going to snap off a sarcastic salute. Understood, sir.
Ogro simply nods and continues eating.
Too busy with that sweet pork loin. But you
Hell yeah.
all sit and eat, and you all talk. So at this point, you all have now returned to the same room. You've had your fill. You've eaten, you've drank, and you just are resting, picking at what's left on the platters and on your own plates, drinking your water, your coffee, your ale, whatever fits. And you find yourself at a moment that you don't usually get. A moment where the four of you, five, including Briar, can just talk. So, what do you speak of? It's been quite some time over the past few months. I imagine questions and such have raised themselves between the lot of you, or even just of other things that may be jumping around the bridge of one's mind.
Creed's got a lot to think about right now, so, like, you got questions, feel free to ask.
Oh, man. I would say like my character's still like in thought as well at the moment. Because like I'm just still like stuck on my notebook. I took like only a pause for like a bit just to like clean up Lucifer from the fight.
So you all find yourselves in thought, sitting around the table and simply just thinking about what has happened before and what you're looking at in the future. As you all sit there in thought, you hear a knock at the door.
Creed's gonna go answer the door.
If it's newspapers, don't touch it.
You open the door to a familiar face. Why, hello! I see you've all made
Slam
it
it.
back
Slam
to...
the door. Slam the door. Slam the
But
door.
I found these
Slam
newspapers.
It. Slam it. Slam it. Slam it.
Creed's gonna leave the half turn. No.
Ah, I wasn't much for physical medium anyways.
What?
Don't worry about it. I smelled food, and I know that you all must be extremely tired from your shenanigans. I come bearing good news.
Come, get a plate of food.
Don't have to tell me twice. There's 3 things
Slam
that are
it.
common
Slam
in
it.
life.
Slam it. Slam it.
Ah,
Slam
don't
it. Slam
you
it.
shush.
Slam it. Slam it.
I like to think it's like from a video game, where as soon as you said that, it was like pop, he's gone. Pop, he's at the table. There was like,
Yes,
there's
there
no
was no-
movement. It's just
No, there was no movement. It was just... As he just
Son
leans...
of a bitch.
He's sitting next to you, nameless. He leans over and goes, "Ha, slush fund." Heh. Speaking of slush fund, this meat is rich as, oh my goodness.
Okros gives him a courteous nod.
I can taste the hibiscus, the honey. Ah, what a delectable combination of flavors. The pork lion's so tender. Ah. Well, I found myself
Yes.
here to bring you both good news, and also, you all seemed very boring, sitting at the table, sitting in thought. It's time to speak, to rejoice. You
how did you know that?
money talks. I
That
also...
makes no sense.
It makes perfect sense if you don't think about it, nameless.
Well, excuse me for having more than 2 brain cells.
I am a finance wizard. I have many a brain cell. I have to keep track of all of them simultaneously. I have sentient money spying for the finance wizard because it makes my life so much easier. Because you see, there's 2 things in life that are constant: death and taxes. And I am both, unfortunately. So, anyway, you seemed bored, so I showed up here.
What the fuck is that from? Out of character.
What? Which
It's a
part?
line from a movie.
What, death and taxes?
Yeah.
It's been like a phrase used for a very long time. I don't know exactly where it's from.
I'm pretty sure there's an actual old western called Death and Taxes, and that's where it
That-
originates from.
Probably.
So the funny fact that the person who it's generally attributed to is Benjamin Franklin.
Yes. I know it's
No.
like a historical
Oh,
quote.
okay.
Okay, so apparently it's confirmed. Yeah, it was actually written by him. Our new constitution is now established and has an appearance that promises permanency, but in this world nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. Franklin in a letter to Jean-Baptiste Leroy, 1789.
Fun fact. Now,
Oh,
do you want to know
and
another
the
fun
movie I
fact?
was thinking of was actually a fucking documentary.
Amazing. Another fun fact. Did you know that fish live in sea cucumbers? Ah, what a weird world we live in.
What?
Yeah, they hide in a sea cucumber. It's weird. Can you pass me more of that roast beef? It's delicious.
I'll take another espresso.
How am I more confused than before you arrived?
Because
whatever the
that's
fuck
my
you're having.
job. I'm here to do many things, which is to confuse, enlighten, and also help with financial troubles. But more on the point, I'm enjoying this delicious feast you're having, because before you were sitting here in silence and I was bored. So here I am. You're welcome.
Might I recommend the mead if you're having the loin?
Ah, please, top me off. It's delicious.
Gladly. Nameless, you said you wanted another espresso?
I believe it was the artificer sitting next to me. I can see his temples throbbing with all the information I'm throwing at his dumb skull.
I suppose more espresso is needed then.
Oh, it was the title of a fictional book written by one of the characters in Stranger Than Fiction.
Very good. Did you know that I was friends with a man named Benjamin Franklin? A weird man. He wore
I'm gonna
glasses.
fucking slap you.
Who?
Did he have an obsession with kites and keys?
I believe he might have. We called him the first electromancer. Man was weird. Rode lightning everywhere. Kind of a dick. Anyway. The joke
he a
was
playboy?
always... the joke was always if he wasn't, in Charlotte, he was somewhere else.
In Louisa?
Mayhaps. It changed every week. The man seemed well-traveled. Unless those were names of women, which then, that man was gross. I ate food with him. I did it on purpose, because it's Clem. He's very socially inept. Anyway. I bring you some good tidings, besides plentiful conversation, and of course, me being my entertaining self. I bring you news of a new system in the Glacier Keep. We have someone we've instilled into a leadership role. He's currently just a figurehead, but he's doing a good job. We call him Dollar Store Demeter, also known as the Mad Elf. He does a really good job. He carries a big stick, waves it around, wants like a golden statue and some champagne fountains. We tell him, no, we'll get you one later. And he kind of just goes about his way eating tomatoes. Not really sure what the man's obsession with tomatoes is, but I'm not going to throw sticks in a wrong direction. But he's a good lad, doing many good things. We'll give him his champagne fountain when we get there. We have to collect more tidings. But Glacier Keep is building up quite well. Many folks have begun moving back in. The temperature is relatively controlled due to the summer season. We no longer have trolls. The talking bears have been slain. It's been a very good time.
Excellent.
We have quite a number of bear rugs. It makes all the taverns very comfy.
The talking bears.
Yes, what about them?
What do you mean you had a talking bear problem?
You know the bears you fought? The one that could mimic noises? Do you not remember?
No,
No. They're not talking bears like they were sentient. No, these were bears that were trying to mimic people to kill them. We killed them first by mimicking other noises, and we reversed the script on those nerds put them 6 feet under and turn their fur into beautiful carpets.
Oh, gross.
Did any of them tell you to die?
I have to ask, where's the largest mug you can give me? Full of mead.
Well,
The cat.
if you're asking,
Here,
I
have one. He's snappity. Here, have my 128
snappity.
ounce aluminum mug. Don't ask what aluminum is. You don't need to know. That is need to know wizard information. Also,
Well, out of character, I opened this door. I set myself up for this, so, Oh
well,
boy.
I'll get the barrel of mead, I suppose.
Oh boy.
I always keep a mug on hand whenever I travel. It's good for tasting. Have you seen something cool I have inside my hat?
Considering the size of the mug, Okros is just going to come out with a small flask, like a small keg of mead, just punch a hole in the top of it, and just pour it out into the fucking container.
I imagine you just like flick a claw out, like cut a circle into it, and just start pouring.
Yeah.
You want to see something cool that's inside my hat? I got it from an
what you
artificer. You see, it's a double-barrel shotgun. At least that's what he said it was. I got it, and I had it in my hat. Because, as they always say, I may be out of spells, but I'm not out of shells. And that way I can protect myself on the go. Very important.
Yes.
But we're building up a good legal system in Glacier Keep again. Well, there's other elf working on it. She's very good at it. We found her at a tavern. She's talking very, very goodly about the legal system. And, you know, just did a real good job of talking me up. And so I said, you know what? You got the job. Make it happen. We had some other folks kind of show up that were really looking to help. And we said, sure, why not? We had this nice talking fellow with a big hat. He wanted to, like, build a board of tourism or something. He's doing a real cool thing. I don't know what exactly he's going to be doing for tourism attractions, but, you know, he's there. He's doing it. Got this other nice, smooth-talking fella. He's got a fancy jacket. He's looking to help with the administration concerns, even though there's, like, 4 of them. So I'm not sure what exactly administration concerns he's having, but it's there. Then we got this other guy. He keeps wanting to be treasurer. That's my job. But I give him some small bags of coinage to play with when he's bored. Seems to satiate the urge he has for stealing it. But regardless, it's going quite well. But that's not the good news I came to bring you. That is a side note, a little anecdote for you to kind of play with among in your minds. But very good regardless. What I did come to bring you was this. Snappity! And he pulls a map out of thin air and lays on the table. He goes, I was able to do something very stupid. I didn't know.
Don't say.
Listen, Nameless, you're full of stupid ideas too sometimes. This one seemed to be very, very stupid. Something that...
Name one.
Name one. Name a stupid thing you did?
Sure.
Let's
I'll
see.
wait.
You point blank fired your cat signal at something. You call your rifle the cat signal. You know, there's plenty of things.
That's his stupid things, not awesome things.
I see our definitions are incorrect. I'll come back to you on when I find out what your correct definition is and find the correct events to write down and give to you itemized and notarized by my homunculi. Keep an eye on your inbox.
Make sure dated.
Oh, God, here we go again with the homunculi.
Ah, yes. My homunculi, Kevin. He's in charge while I'm away. He's very good at his job. But regardless, the map I have brought you was something that I attempted to do very stupidly that seemed to work very well in my favor. You see, as I said, money talks, and so I began sending a certain amount of coin in certain places, putting it in certain areas that would be picked up by certain individuals for certain reasons or another. And because of all the little bits and pieces I was able to put into play, I may have been able to build you a map of who exactly is where on the western region, as well as maybe some status reports from the Great Scorched Sands. It's all very goodly.
How is it over there in the Scorched Sands then?
They're doing okay. It's not the greatest of predicaments they find themselves in, being a fuck-ass desert, but at least the cities themselves seem to be separated from all the shenanigans, as it seems to be that the gods don't really give a shit about it. They do have what looks to be troopers in the main watch fortress on the northern side. Whether that's fully controlled by them or not, I'm not entirely sure, but it seems that there is a focus on that. I believe they're trying to use it as a foothold. For what? I cannot tell you. I haven't heard it yet. But for the western region, we have a few individuals that are playing major parts. Here, look upon my map. I make sure I pull up the right one for you guys to look at. Let's see. It should be this one. There it is. And we can get rid of that. We can lock that. It's not the old one, but it's... Oh, here is the brink. Beautiful. Here we go. So, you see, before we didn't have much information on the western side. Now, what we do have is that, unfortunately, for those of us here, the Glass Keep has fallen, or from what we understand. We don't know who exactly is causing a ruckus, but as finance wizard, I'm keeping my ears out to what exactly is causing a problem. We do know currently that the dickhead Ares is currently sitting on a head thunder. We know that Balder, that buzz-cutted asshole covered in tattoos, seems to be sitting upon Blackstone Keep. That's not exactly a good thing. Creed, can you explain why that's not a good thing to the rest of the people in the room, from what you remember?
Sorry, the Black Keep or the Glass Keep?
Blackstone Keep.
Blackstone Keep. Sorry, I declare. Yeah. Well, a lot of... How do I put this? The gods were not exactly subtle when they took over the different keeps, and Blackstone, they fell rather quickly.
There was the other reason of Blackstone, was that it was where the powers that be, back before the Godfall, were playing with psionics, and may or may not have had a gate to a different place in it. It's kind of bad.
I admit I'd forgotten about that.
We don't really have confirmation if they have gained access to those psionics or any kind of other technology that may have been hidden inside Blackstone Keep, and it was very secret and very scary. But we know at least Baldur's there, which, that's fun. For the rest, we know Crom got his shit pushed in at the Glass Keep during his assault after the Godfall. But he did run. He wasn't confirmed killed. And from what it sounds like through the coins, he's sitting currently on Cauldry. Like a douche. As for the other two, as there seems to be only two others active, besides, of course, Zeus and his stupid retinue inside of High Charity, is that Arwen, some kind of weird, witchy-looking deity, is currently sitting upon the broken spire. What she's looking for there, I'm not entirely sure, but it doesn't exactly deal good feelings knowing she's there, knowing of what was once there. And then, of course, last but not least, for some reason, Folkar's been left alone for the most part, along with Dunmarin. There's, of course, detachments of troopers and other things that have laid their sickly claws into the domain. But for the most part, it's been left alone by the other deities, surprisingly. But we still have to worry about Shiva. Now, we know Watcher's Rest in the desert is under control by someone, and Scordoon at Adriel Cove seem to be neutral, or at least friendly. But Shiva, from what I can tell, I'm not as sure where, but she's down in the cradle of life, beyond the scorched sands, through the scoured pass, and into the great farms of Dimilsen and Durian's Watch. Last I checked, there wasn't much down there, but that's where she's found herself, down in that there region. Marta's Wake, of course, has no one really around it, as it's been sealed shut ever since Creed left it last. So no one's really gone looking. And last but not least, Ravenholm is, of course, under our control once again. We do not have many issues with it. We are recovering what we can and moving it to both the Glacier Keep and New Haven. And of course we have Zeus and his biophagus and his other malarkey inside of High Charity. But that's another issue for later. Well, that's what we have so far for intel. I'm not sure if they're going to find out if the coins I gave them are false, but I'm also not exactly putting them inside of high-ranking leaders. So what I'm hearing is mostly grapevine talk. Well, yeah. So now you have some bit more information to work with. It's up to you what you want to do with it, mind you. But, side note, Creed, you look different. Why? Explain.
I got a haircut.
Very funny. Your hair's been the same for the past 20 years.
Looks rather good, doesn't it?
Maybe on the back of a badger. You stuck-up bastard. Talking about your mana. The force around you seems different. Explain.
We're inside where there's no wind.
You dense motherfucker!
Oh, you know what? You're right. I'm a little dehydrated. Could use that drink, Okros.
It's already full, you dick waffle. You 12-piece chicken McNobody. Answer my question.
I'll answer it in just a second. And then Creed's going to grab via the mug, and he's just gonna start going at it.
He's gonna be at that for a moment.
Indeed.
Dodging my questions. Anyway,
12-piece chicken, nobody. That okay. Did that come with fries too?
it might. It also comes with a free pimp hand.
Try it. Give me a reason.
I can make you bald.
I can make you dead.
You can try. I've been threatened worse by better tabaxi.
When you give him that threat,
Lies.
by the way, Creed
There
like
are no better
coughs as he's
tabaxi.
drinking.
Anyway, besides the masculinity diversion from Nameless, keep the thing away. You're swinging it a little bit hard in one direction there. Past that,
Well, then you better duck, because I'm about to turn left and I don't want to smack you with my dick.
you're tabaxi and that is gross. Why are you so
Then you
crude
duck.
for something so small? Is because you're closer to hell? Is that why?
Yeah, hell was arranged with me when you sat next to me.
Ha ha ha! Very, very funny. You're funny, Tabaxi. I'll keep you around until I get bored. Anyway, you have things that are built up in your intelligence. Of course, you have the funds coming in slowly from the other farms. The Broken Talon is back in repair. The West Munster has been relatively secure and quiet. Thurble, of course, the food sources are fine. We're not really having issues with them. And, of course, Ravenholm's under control. We're shuffling things out as we go. But it's been strange not having a bunch of amalgamation monsters coming after us all the time in the keep. It's been rather quiet and quaint. I've enjoyed it. But you all seem to be processing things. You can talk to me if you want. I'm also a licensed therapist. I do group therapy for reduced prices.
Always a fee.
First one's free. You'll feel better, I promise.
Not even if I had health insurance.
I'm already feeling quite revitalized, thank you. I managed to get my revenge.
Ah, yes. The best price tag on anything is just turning a motherfucker into a tombstone. You gotta love it. It's such a good feeling to have, especially when they steal or lie to you and then, become good friends. What a wonderful coinky-dink.
Indeed.
But, Creed, now that as you slow down on your mug there, answer the question. Why do you look different in the eyes of the Arcana?
He's gonna set the mug down and go, oh, it's good mead. Oh, I pledged an oath to an immortal man who gave me magical powers.
Huh. That's something you don't hear every day.
You asked.
I did. And I had my answer, and I am satisfied with it. Not the weirdest thing I've ever heard. The talking bears were saying some weird things.
I'm not sure I want to know.
Listen, they're not as bad as the crabs and goblins we have underneath Glacier Keep, apparently. It's not great. They keep making weird noises and throwing wild rages. I don't understand it.
Are you saying the crabs are raving?
I'm not sure who started the rave, but the crabs are definitely in there.
My God.
Well, yes. So I brought you your tidings and such. Also your pay for the work you've done, and of course the monthly pay stipends you require. I was coming down this way, and Leandros decided to just have me take care of the finances, as it seems to be I'll be hovering between New Haven and Glacier Keep. Thankfully, because of all the new smooth-talking people that have taken charge, it makes it easier to step away from Kevin and get things done on either side.
I have a question about Kevin.
Yes,
Are you even paying him?
you're asking the finance wizard if I'm paying my homunculi? Of course I'm paying my homunculi. What do you think I am, some kind of capitalistic asshole?
Yes.
I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say here.
Oh god, I can hear the crabs. Oh no, they're raving. It's reaching my ears through Kevin. It's away for
I had to
now.
buy bits first, otherwise I would have fucking had that like right when he said it.
It's away for now. Good gods. Yes, of course I'm paying them. I'm not some capitalist shill. I take care of my people because they make life easy. And of course, I don't take much because I'm pretty well set. I got 30 different wizard tomes, and I just kind of poof in and out of places. I'm essentially a very powerful archmage. I'd make do with what I have. Because you see, I can just go to places, pay for things. And did you know how far gold can be stretched in certain areas of this region? It's very well. The economy is doing very good.
Excellent.
Oh, I almost forgot. Leandro said he found something in Ravenholm you'd like to see. He said it was an old friend? I don't know what the fuck that means. Because he wouldn't say anything else. He just kept saying old friend, like I fucking knew who he was talking about.
Interesting.
I didn't like it. I left the conversation and came here because he was confusing. And I thought I was the weird one.
Who would be an old friend, Creed?
I've been alive for a while. That could be a long list of people.
But regardless, he's in the government center, waiting on you guys. He said he also may have orders for next approach. I don't know exactly what it will be, as they're still trying to build up the fleet to go somewhere eventually, I assume. Unless they're able to recreate the Valkyrie, which, again, I assume it will do something at some point in the future. But that's all I have. You may not see me for a while, because I'll be going on an adventure. There's some weird Warforged individuals asked me to help him out with some issues that he's running into with his financing his inventing. I'm gonna go help him out for a while, in between jumping here and otherwise. So, we'll see what new stories I have to bring to the table. But, interestingly enough, there has been communications. Are you ready for me to blow your tiny minds?
Oh. Go ahead, I gotta...
Are you
What?
good, Creed? Stop choking on the mead.
I just opened my monster and it just started pouring out. Sorry, I'll be back.
Oh shit, I'm gonna.
Jesus. Dear God,
Yeah,
the
for your
monster's
real life crisis.
leaking. That's
Really hope he can
expensive.
chug mead faster or better than he can chug monster. Man.
Are you ready for me to blow your minds? We just received
Oh.
our first communique. We don't know how it got here. It got sent in like a pigeon. Didn't even know pigeons existed.
What's a pigeon?
It's some kind of weird bird. It looks dumb as shit. I thought it was a surveillance bird at some point. It was sent to spy on me from the government for my tax evasion.
Most concerning.
But it wasn't.
Finance wizard
No,
wanted by the
the
IRS
bird.
for tax evasion.
Yeah,
That's it.
the bird had some kind of letter attached to its leg. It seemed to come from this man. Where did he say it was from? We brought it to Landros to look it over because it was very concerning because we didn't know there was anything outside of where we are. Did you know there's apparently an entire other region, like another country to the east? Like 50 miles. Whatever the fuck a mile is.
Oh, I like that one.
Sorry.
Who is Mile and how did you measure 50 of him?
I don't know. It just said on the paper. Look, I'm a mathematician when it comes to money, not understanding physics. That is not my job. That's what the artificers are for. But on the note, he said there was a region that he was writing from called Etheria. Apparently it's 50 miles east by boat. Very, very strange phenomenon. Apparently they received a bunch of the refugees during the Godfall. And apparently they didn't know we existed either. Apparently something's been keeping us separated for quite some time. And apparently when Creed here got zippity-zoop snappled to here, it dropped the veil. So they sent us a letter, and the person who was writing it, he's from this town called McCrag. Apparently it's one of the major capitals near the central body of water in this region. He was writing it on behalf of these heroes that apparently were looking for help, or that the country was in ruins, or something. His name was, what the fuck was it? Thurlby. That's right. Thurlby, the artificer. He sent a letter from us from Etheria telling us about what's been going on. Apparently they've been dealing with something along the same situation that we've been dealing with here. Some power crazy asshole started throwing lightning bolts at everything. And now they got these 3 guys just kind of throwing hands. Apparently their dwarf got turned into a warforged. Apparently they found a community of warforged. I didn't even know they existed anymore. But they're looking for help and communication. And so that's something that we got brewing along the horizons. Mayhaps, if we're ever able to get there. We asked them if they had these weird stones, and apparently when they responded, they didn't have world stones like we do over here. They go by boat and by, like, airships piloted by gnomes. It's a weird time. Apparently they just have, like, regular humans over there, and dwarves and everything else in between. It's insane. It's an entirely another region full of people with magic and skills and all kinds of weird technology. They apparently had a fortress surrounded by spiders that pretended to be trees. What the fuck is that?
Trees? But what the fuck?
Apparently their legs would look like trees, and you'd walk under them, and then they'd grab you with their gut hooks. Ugh. I don't want to think about it. It gives me nausea.
Purge them with fire.
That's what they did.
Burn it all.
Apparently there's an entire faction of rangers known as the Hunters who specifically kill those things and then use their body parts to make them stronger by turning their legs into stilts and hunting more of them through the way that they hunt others.
An honorable pursuit.
It's a weird place over there. They got apparently an entire keep full of paladins. And not like Creed paladins, but like these guys are in massive suits of armor. They're huge. It's I don't know. It's a weird place. I'm kind of excited to see it if we ever get there. But they're currently dealing with like an apocalyptic scenario. Apparently some guy's taking a bunch of artifacts and he's throwing magical lightning bolts at things and blowing things up. He has a bunch of like bug people as his soldiers. Kind of the same scenario we're dealing with here, except he's more of a god by magic and not a god like an asshole. Yeah. But
Still, that does not sound like fun.
no, but apparently these three guys are doing a real good job. Apparently they got some kind of Aarakocra with a gun. He's doing a real good job of things. Apparently he's known as the demon. He's got metal wings and like a red eye. Just kind of shoots the shit out of stuff. Does a real good job of it. They got that Dwarven Warforged, who's just punking people with a hammer he made out of a talon from a demon queen. Which, interesting. And then, of course, the last guy is just like a monk. I don't know what the fuck a monk is. But apparently he's just like a pugilist. He's got these big old golden fists that he just punches people with. Apparently he's been known to break down a door with them. And not like oh look, it's a door to a building. Oh, it's very scary. No, like he broke open the gates to a fortress with them. It's terrifying.
He I would like to meet.
He apparently can run up a flat surface. Who the fuck does that? But anyway, they're apparently...
Did we have a certain vampire that did that?
Yeah, but not the same way. The vampire guy was just kind of a weirdo. This guy does it because he's, like, really good at physical fitness. But yeah.
I wonder if I could learn that.
That'd be very scary attempt there, of course. I don't want to keep that in my brain. That's scarier than the talking bears.
That would be a good skill for you, though, Gross.
Yeah, blow your tiny minds. Apparently there's a whole nother region full of adventures and bullshit. So maybe one day we'll see it. Who is to say? Maybe we'll eventually be able to, I don't know, unify this region with something else? No. But here's a tidbit that he told me that was also terrifying. There's apparently a large colony of islands to the south. And when I say large islands, I mean there's 3 massive islands with a bunch of smaller ones in between that make up a bridge between us and them, according to his surveying pigeons. Which is apparently a thing he makes. They haven't really seen what's going on over there quite yet, but apparently it's there. So we're not alone on this watery marble.
This is good news, though.
It's terrifying, but good. But anyway, Leandros is looking for you at the government center. Have fun with whatever he's got. I'm gonna go make sure that those crabs aren't raving so much, because if they do, it's gonna give me hell of a headache. I don't have enough Tylenol to deal with it. Goodbye, Crostapity! And he disappears. God damn it. No! As he just disappears into the ether.
His left side for this time's already had the bits.
Very good, very good. So Clem disappears as he's just screaming no as he grabs his ears. As you imagine, the rave has started up again. He disappears from the table. His plate has been cleaned and his mug is empty. As he leaves you with the map and the instructions that Leandros asked you to come see him. And then one thing that rings through your ears once more is the fact that he brought up that Creed looks different, and that Creed came out and said that he made a deal with an immortal person. And that seems to have been making him look stronger, almost as if his aura, not the person, the actual energy around him, seems stronger. And all of you seem a little bit more uplifted near him, as something seems to kind of meld all of you together. That's when, as everything kind of dies down, you guys are sitting there rubbing your temples from the visit from Clem and kind of going through your heads of that there's other places to explore. There's other people fighting the same fight as you. You're not alone. And that Glacier Keep is building itself up. Ravenholm has been resecured. You have intel on where the other gods are. You know where to hit them where it hurts. You know where they are. It's some of them raising questions and concerns. Other ones raising more questions than anything. But now you have locations. You have a plan that you can go forward with. But as you kind of just sit back and think, just and mel in what has been given to you for the moment, the room around you starts to gray out, as the only thing that's left is a darkened space with incense that seems to flow in from one end to another that you can't see. You're all still sitting in the same chairs with the same table, all of you sitting next to each other, as you all see a ghostly figure of a very large crusader, someone who would almost be the same size as Okros in both height and stature, kind of come out from the darkness, a green ethereal glow kind of hanging around him. A very large sword on his back, the tabard displaying a number of runes and sigils down his chest, a large metal helm on his head. And you just hear a deep, gravelly voice go, "Ah, compatriots of Creed, I have come to pay heed to you on the oath that he has taken upon himself. It would seem selfish not to bring forth something for all of you to benefit from. I am Lord Tiberius of the Crusaders, the demon hunters of the humans, and the defenders of Martyr's Wake."
Greetings. It is an honor to meet you.
I have brought all of you something to coincide with the powers that be that have been given upon Creed as a boon of good fortune and good strength to complete his objectives going forth. So I am here to give you each of your boons in person, as unlike other lords and deities that exist within the pantheons of this world, I am merely a soul that has been given the powers to do as such, and I believe all of you are deserving more than ever of an advantage against the gods. I believe it is time we give you an edge against otherworldly powers.
Oh? You have my
My
interest.
character's just getting all wide-eyed right now, going, oh, tell me.
I will start with you, barbarian. Step forth and stand tall. you will be the first to receive it.
All right. Okro steps forward. Ready.
He puts his hand on your chest and thumps you real fucking good. And you feel this, which is uncommon for you, being the height and strength you are. This actually knocks you back a couple steps as you have a glowing green handprint on your chest that quickly disappears. He goes, "You wish to bring carnage and justice to those that have wronged others. You find that sometimes you have issues with dealing with certain problems. As the oath of the bulwark stands, so shall you. So I've given you a chance to make that right with one of two choices. As I always believe, a choice is, in a matter of perspective, a good thing. So, Mr. Okros, your first choice is that akin to what the wardens used to you. A charge, if you will, to take your mass and your strength and break their lines, giving you the ability to shake off their abilities to halt your progress, as well as deal damage to those who find themselves, unfortunately, underneath your footfalls. Your second choice is that of more an offensive skill, as I have seen your mobility from the eyes of others, that this could give you an edge when dealing with multiple individuals that clog your wake. We call it the Great Equalizer. It is a move used with the Crusaders to sweep large areas and deal a significant amount of damage in the process. With this, you would strike every enemy within your reach for the same damage as what you're doing. If they happen to fall prey to this, they will feel the pain that wrenches your heart. What do you choose, barbarian?
I shall choose the second blessing.
Ah, the whirlwind of pain, the Great Equalizer. Very good. You will be able to use this twice a day between your restings. Nameless had to step away. I will send him his stuff later.
Fair.
Les, the artificer, step forward.
What's up?
You tend to find yourself at a disadvantage when dealing with those that wish to bring melee within your range. So, much like the barbarian, I will give you two choices. Your first is that of a shield, one that you can call forth to help you in those times of sorrow. This will act on its own accord and make you a little bit more defensible. The second is that of a great strength. A spiritual weapon, if you deem fit. One that you can summon in times of dire needs and strike down the enemies in front of you. What is your choice?
I would say the spiritual weapon.
Very good. Here is your weapon. And he pulls out a great hammer in his hand and hands it to you. You will also be able to use this twice a day. It has the damage profile of a great maul and essentially would hit enemies in a cone in front of you. 15-foot cone in front of you. It would be a dex save. The other side of it is that we'll go into specifics towards the end, but yes, you essentially will now be able to summon a spiritual maul to strike enemies in front of you in a 15-foot cone when in dire straits, to be able to use that twice a day between your restings.
Oh, this will be fun.
And this is the long rest, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good.
Now, Mr. Creed, I believe it is time to give you your choice of your starting gifts. Now, for you, you have been a pivotal part in fighting on the front lines. You have your Sword of Penance, which allows you to use your penance stare and to force those that you bring to bear witness to the wrongs they've done, to weigh justice upon the scales. But your shield seems lacking. So we wish to give you a better one that allows you something stronger than you have before. Or we can give you something else. Something that allows you to pull attention, if you will. You seemed well in using your compelled duel against the Piper, setting the stage for you to weigh the scales upon his justice. And so we wish to give you something stronger in turn. To give you more details, your first would simply give you a shield that, though would feel as light as a small buckler, would act as that of much of a tower, protecting you and your compatriots close by from both ranged and physical attacks. Something that would allow you the edge in coming tides. The other would simply be that of a taunt, something that you find yourself rather good at. This would simply goad those around you to attack, but not without your own bonuses, because they themselves would be distracted by your insults, whatever they may be. Within shouting distance of about 15 feet from you, you'd be able to force them to think for once in their pitiful lives. If they fail to think proper, they would charge you. But what they do not know is that your defenses would grow and your strikes would become true. You would gain advantage in those strikes and your AC would go up. Both of these can be used twice a day. Well, minus the shield, as it would be permanent. What is your choice?
The shield shall offer the best versatility, unfortunately.
Ah, a good choice for one that only fights with sword and board, not with two-handed, and has one hand free. Very good. You will take the buckler of St. Peter, a fellow crusader that fell during the assault of Martyr's Wake. Carry it well. Use it rightly. And he gives you, it doesn't look like a shield when he hands it to you. It looks almost like a wider vambrace. So it fits on your arm where your current armor would be. It seems to be much wider in paneling, but when you kind of grip it and take a defensive motion, a spectral tower shield pops up in front of you and seems to radiate protection in all directions.
Wait a minute, hang on a second. Did you just give me this shield from Destiny?
No, not entirely. Essentially, it is a.
What you said, Bill?
No, it's more of just it's a spectral tower shield, so you don't get the disadvantage of carrying a tower shield, whether it's weight, bulkiness. But when you go to defend yourself, it will act as a tower shield. It also would be giving you protector. I think that's the name of the feat, where you would be able to twice a day between your long rests imbue disadvantage on enemies that come within range to attack your allies within 5 feet of you.
Neat.
You would still be able to do your shield bash, your shield push, everything else you'd be able to do with a regular shield, but now it basically gives you the protector feat for free. Same AC bonus and everything else in between. It just now you have a shield that doesn't weigh you down, would be allow you to use tuna weapons if you so fit. Basically, you can have that left hand free when necessary, or if you're defending, it just allows you to defend more than just yourself.
Nice.
Yes. And then as for Nameless and Aura, when we see them next, they'll have their choices of boons that we'll do retroactively and go from there. But yes, Brother Tiberius, having given you your boons, nods and simply goes, I wish you the best. Remember, the oath of strength and oath of the bulwark go hand in hand. Show the enemy no mercy, no quarter, and protect those that cannot protect themselves. And no sooner did he arrive, vanishes as you return to the normal settings of your living room. Remembering that Leandros did ask for you to come see an old friend that he has found.
Well, shall we go check it?
Might as well. I have to admit, it's getting a little odd seeing all these people who are dead.
Indeed.
So,
So Creed's gonna wait by the door unless you guys have anything else to do.
all right.
Orcros is good to head out.
No. I pick up Lucifer and strap him on my back.
Strap him on your back. Just strap him on there. So, you go towards the government center, where Leandros basically said, hey, I got something I want to show you. And as you approach, you don't see it, you hear it first. You hear the loud shuddering of pistons and gears in the distance. You can see a bellow of smoke rising from beyond the wall as it enters from the western gate of New Haven. As you see Leandros walking through the western gate towards the government center, and as he gets closer, you're hearing this whirring and gurring, this clunking of machinery back and forth. It finally lines up, and you see him standing proudly in front of what seems to be this large mechanical thing. Creed, you recognize this, as you remember these from before the Godfall. They stand about 12 feet tall, and they seem to be made completely of metal, but you remember something of that. These were a precursor to something else that Leandro made. He did originally help create these larger mechanical suits that were driven by pilots that were used in defense of the border, but lost most, if not all of them, during the Godfall, along with his heavy vehicles and other things as the war took its toll. But he said that there is only a handful of these specific machines that he made, as they were saved for very specific people. And as he kind of stands in front of it, you recognize it as very interesting. Is that it seems to be one of those specific machines. And he points to it. And he goes, "Ah, you've all arrived. Wonderful. I have something to show you. As you know, that there's been a number of things that I have built and worked on in my lifetime. This seems to be my most fortunate one that I have ever truly put together. This, of course, is what I call a walking sarcophagus. Of course, it's not as pleasant a name as it could be. Unfortunately, that is simply the case when it comes to making certain things named in our region. But this happens to hold a very dear friend of mine. Someone that I thought had long since perished and had long since fallen into the breach of being left to dust. This is one of my old generals. This specifically is the one that stood with me during the Godfall. He was struck down by a blade of the Nether Realms. He was wounded severely. When I was taken captive and my men and property were destroyed so as to not allow resistance to build, I thought that he was gone. But here he stands. Here he stands, the Ancient One, or as we called him before his passing into the sarcophagus. Please introduce yourselves to the Ancient, also known as Riker Stragan. And you just hear a metallic, almost automated voice from inside the mechanical body that echoes out, going, "I have returned, and not a moment too soon."
Okros is going to respectfully bow his head down and say,
Greetings, Ancient.
I'll be real, not the guy I was expecting. I'm thankful for that. Pleasure to be fighting beside you.
The pleasure is mine. It has been quite some time since I've been able to bring my wrath upon those that stand in front of what was built. It has bring me much joy to join the fray once again.
I would say like Ness is just like saluting and just like in awe of the Ancient. Going, how is that working? Not knowing like how to speak at the moment, basically,
So
because he's just like
saluting
in
and
so much
vibrating
shock.
with excitement.
Yeah, basically. Like speechless at the moment.
Just, dear God, what do I do with this?
Like, this is awesome. How do I even say my name right now?
The War Master looks to all of you and goes, this is just a good thing that we found him, because we're going to need him. Our next stop is Watcher's Rest. We're going to take it back from what is there and use as a foothold to make our way to the Broken Spire. That is what I've been told by Clem, as I imagine he left you a map as well. That there are gods afoot, and we have a war to win. So go and prepare yourselves. Get yourselves together and armed and ready. Make your visits, buy your weapons, and such. I also imagine that Clem dropped off your paychecks for everyone. You should have received essentially 250 each of your gold piece advancement. For all your hard work and what you've done, that should make it a little easier for you to gain what necessary supplies you require. Past that, we will be ready to march onto the Watcher's Rest in a few days. We'll be moving to the Broken Talon and using that as our set point. The Valkyrie will bring you over, and you will drop in and deal with the problem as you see fit. That is all I have for you for now. I wished for you to simply meet an old friend of mine. One of the only generals that was loyal. Surprisingly, he was part of the Khorne faction. Which actually doesn't surprise me much now that I think about it. But it'll be a good fight regardless. I am excited for the next advancement in our little resistance. Start putting the pressure where it hurts the most. Anyway, that is all I have for you. Go forth on your business, heroes. We have much work to be done. Leandros turns and motions to the Ancient as they go towards the government center, talking like friends that haven't seen each other in years and have now kind of come back. And you're all just kind of left to your own devices. And as the day kind of sets, you walk along and you look at things and whatnot, and you have a few ideas in mind of what to do before you set off for the Watcher's Rest. You know, the artificers have begun making some more magical weapons and such. Things that could be of use to those that may not have all of the necessary offensive capabilities or defense capabilities that you could utilize. As well as potions and ammunitions and things that come in tow later. But for now, we end the story as you approach the townhouse to begin a restful slumber, as today was a lot. Between getting your pay, speaking to the War Master, and otherwise, figuring out that there are regions beyond your borders, that Glacier Keep is being renovated, and that a strike team is being assembled to take back Watcher's Rest. And that now you know where all the gods reside. And so now it is time to begin the offensive, as they would not assume that a force so small would be able to deal as much damage as you can. And so they leave you with that. And the session comes to a close. So, living up to the title of Revelations, let's talk turkey and do a real quick breakdown of what you guys liked from this session. What were some really cool things that happened that you really enjoyed? And then we'll kind of go from there. Starting with Mr. Creed.
I was really, really thankful I didn't have to roll Constitution to try to deal with all these different things trying to get me to shake hands. It's like, that's not gonna go. That's not gonna go. Well, the alcohol. I was expecting Constitution. I was hovering over Constitution as I was drinking. I'm like, I'm waiting for it. Come on, let's just go ahead. Let's just go for it. And you didn't make me roll. I was like, nice. Thank you.
It was all
Ah.
in role play. That's why.
But no, now he is now a paladin.
Officially.
Yes, he's officially a paladin. I just rocking the title for another 30 years. Also, I love apparently Creed's hair has not grown whatsoever, like at all, over like 30 years. That's an oddly specific thing to not have to worry about. So, not saying no. It's definitely a pro.
Definitely a pro. Definitely a good thing. It's very good. Yep. Very good.
Don't have to worry about haircut.
There you go. All right, Mr. Nez.
I would just say I really enjoyed like all the story, like the lore of the day. It was a very nice lore dump like session of getting to learn a lot that we didn't know.
Yeah, basically it's like I said, today was definitely revelations. It was to really look deep onto oneself and realize what you're looking at really. All right, and Mr. Okros, Mr. Rexus.
I do agree that the lore was very nice today, but also the announcement of the adventures soon to come. Yes.
Uh-huh. You like that little drop in that there's a region to the south made of all islands and we don't know what the fuck's going on over there?
Indeed. And
Oh yeah.
And then also, I'm gonna go work with this artificer inventor guy. This fucking weirdo.
I mean, like, no, I don't need to crossover. I don't need to do two voices in a day.
No, I am never going to force any of us, including myself, trying to do two voices at once. Because Thurlby is not the same as Clem. Clem evolved from Thurlby. And so trying to go between those two voices would be painful for me if they were in the same room. Because it'd be like, I am the finance wizard, and I am Thurlby. The audacity of this bitch. Like, they're very much the same, but like two very different inflections.
It's like
I'm the best. No, I am the best. No, I'm the best. Ah!
walk into the room where you just hear
Basically, just Look at all this magical things I can do. Look at all these cool inventions I have. These idiots. You know, it's very much the strained, like, back of the vocal cords kind of voices for both of them. Cause it's just funny because with Thurlby, it's more nasally. Where he's like, the audacity of this bitch. You know, very much like it's akin to more of a normal tone, but like Clem is like a whole nother fucking degree. And he's by far my favorite NPC that I'll ever use forever. Constantly. Because he's just goofy as shit. And then, my favorite moment was implanting Bard City as NPCs in Glacier Keep.
I thought you did that, but I didn't want to say anything. I was like, wait, isn't that Bard's?
Yes.
Yeah. I felt like that's why I saw the face King made.
Yeah. Yes, because we make fun of his alter ego, which is the Mad King Franciel, which is basically Demethor from the dollar store.
That's what I thought with his reaction.
Mm-hmm. It became a bit at one of our events, and it's just been very funny to just be as a recurring bit. Where it's like I was gonna make him a sort of the Mad King, but like when we're actually doing so, it's just gonna be a stick, because Clem doesn't want to get cut, doesn't want to lose another finger. But yeah, so today was a lot of revelations. It was lore dump. It was set up because essentially with you guys taking out the Plague Doctor and the Blight Piper ended your first arc. The northeastern region is secure. which means it's time to go out.
Indeed.
I don't know what you're talking about. Like, he shows up. He apparently has like been stalking us for the past 2 hours, and he starts spouting about some islands that we've never been in contact with. Yeah, whatever, whatever, banker man. Sure.
Whatever bank person getting weird pigeons, whatever they are from
Yeah, okay.
other regions.
You're telling me that there's just whole entire land masses out there we've never been able to contact until I accidentally summoned all of the gods into existence? Yeah, whatever. Like, come on.
Whatever, man.
Next, you're gonna tell me that this is not the only section of this plane, and that these massive islands are not all there is to it. Like, you're telling me the world's round or something. Like,
I mean, he did kind of say that, and you just kind of were drinking really heavily and didn't react to it.
yeah, whatever, dude.
Shut up, money man.
What's more believable? There's been a magical shield blocking us off from the rest of this world, or that you're just insane? Like, what's more realistic here?
Which is more clear to the naked eye of what is actually correct and what isn't. You tell me, moneybags.
More importantly, who is this giant named Miles, and how did they measure him 50 times?
I hated that. It was very funny, and I set it up, but it was just, who is this Miles, and why is there 50 of him?
It's always great when you just play it straight and you ruin it for everyone else. You just take the humor away, and it just makes you feel
Like, how I
so
shit
good.
on my own joke on purpose. Just, yeah, I broke the joke. That's what makes it funny. What are you talking about? Don't worry about it. Oh, God, I can hear the crabs raving. Fucking dumb. I loved it. But yeah, I hate you.
The fact
I
that I
hate
hear
you.
that song in my head without that even happening every single time
It's
that you said
ingrained
the
in
crabs
our
are
fucking
raving.
minds. It was. I
Yeah.
knew as soon as I said the crabs and goblins were partying. I know Rex was like, "Oh, are they raving?" I was like, "Son of a bitch! Here it comes! Here it comes! It's gonna haunt me forever."
Indeed.
But yeah, that is all I have. Thank you all for being here and joining us for this little D&D shenanigans. This is what I like to do and kind of show people what we're doing here story-wise, kind of really stretching things out and giving people stuff to look into, things to do. If you've never played D&D, this is what we're kind of showing and what we're doing. And like, that's the long and short of it, is that if I can sit here and give you guys something really cool to look at, that's what counts in my book. That makes me happy, makes everything good, makes everything solid. But yeah, so that's all I have. We're going to raid out here to I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that is the hard choice on this one when it comes to getting these things up and out. But I don't know. I don't want to raid into someone I have to talk to right now.
Wow.
Listen, it's late. I don't want to talk to nobody.
He wants to raid out and go bad.
Yeah, basically. Like, I got stuff I have to build for my props. Oh, the new thing I built for my props, if you're interested, is this giant book.
Excellent.
Oh no.
The Boppin Tome.
Well, it's
Oh.
what it's supposed to be is I have this Velcro strap that I've put on the back of it that I'm going to work onto the belt. You know the tome from Darktide that the Zealot can have?
Yeah, the
It's
Tome
based-
Xenos.
Yeah, it's basically that. It's tome.
Yeah, it's the
agreements.
Boppin' Tome.
Yeah, it's the Boppin' Tome. It's the improvised weapon.
Yeah.
Easy, simple, good to go.
You come across a Xenos and you consult the book by bopping him in the head with it.
Yeah, basically. I think what I'm probably just going to do is I'm just going to end it out here. Just because it's late, I want to go to sleep. Because I have more prop shit to do over this weekend. Thankfully, the next event is until August, which gives me plenty of time to put it all together and make it look real fancy, because I have to make some crystals and I have to make some daggers. All things to do. More things to do. But yes, like I said before, thank you all for being here. If you're not already following our players, of course, it's Time to Rage, Stealth Rage 7, Mr. Rexus, and then Blackburn and Jenna show up where they want to and cause chaos because they enjoy being here.
Yeah, bro.
I consider you emotional punching bag.
You're not emotional punching bag. You picked the main character, you nerd!
What do you mean I picked the main character?
You did
It's just his
everything.
emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
I'm the one who told you to bring the character over, but you're the one who chose to be the main suffering character.
Yes. Exactly. So.
Kind of feels like victim blaming if you think about it.
Oh, victim blaming. All right. Well, we're closing it out of here. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.